Hi, I'm Erin Otan, Director of Research Programs at Z Prime, and I'm here with Mike Dorizio, Investment Manager at Centrica Innovations. We're in Washington, D.C. at the Grid Connects event hosted by Gridwise Alliance. Thanks for being here today, Mike.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks,
so what are you here for? Why are you at Grid Connects?
So specifically, I'll be speaking later today on a panel about blockchain in the energy industry. But more broadly, just here to take in the event and hear what others have to say about what's going on, particularly on the utility side of the industry.
Great. So where do you see the biggest changes happening and maybe areas for opportunity in the energy industry going into 2019?
So certainly in the near term, I think the major trends that we're already experiencing in the proliferation of distributed energy resources, specifically solar PV, that's going to continue apace. And I think that will continue to be both a technical and market challenge for retail energy providers, for utility companies that are addressing all these new technologies that are connecting at the grid edge in their territories. But beyond that, more importantly, I think a huge challenge is coming in the 5 to 7 year horizon with the proliferation of electric vehicles, and specifically what that means for the challenge of charging and managing all the different electric vehicles that will be plugging in, potentially in the millions, across the US at least. And that's a challenge that I don't think the industry is entirely prepared for yet at this point, both on the distribution company side, but certainly from a retail energy point of view, thinking about how to manage and sell to all these customers, charging solutions, potentially vehicle to grid opportunities and things like that. We're still figuring it out. So that's certainly a little longer term, but that'll be an even bigger challenge than the solar PV one that we're seeing today.
And so speaking of challenges, what are some of the top challenges that you see startups having with engaging with energy providers, and how do you sort of help them navigate that landscape?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Erin. I think the utility industry, as everyone knows, is historically very cautious about adopting new technologies or working with startups. This can be challenging, especially for a company that's in startup mode. That means they're cash strapped. So time is of the essence, and often working slowly and cautiously doesn't always jive with their business model. What we try to do at Centrica Innovations, specifically we're providing capital to startups and becoming an investor and really supporting those founders in their startup journey. But importantly, beyond the transaction, we try to work with those startups and bring them into the energy ecosystem, whether that's working with Centrica directly or some of our partners in the industry and other utility companies to help them drive their business models forward. So I'll give you a great example. For example, we've invested in a company called LO3 Energy. This was going back last year now, and we've been working with them specifically on various projects, one in the UK and one in Texas here in the United States, where we're helping them navigate that landscape and providing thought partnership as well as capital.
Yeah, we've heard a lot at this event about how really partnerships and joining together with the community is really important.
Yeah, totally.
So how do you see evolving customer demands and needs really impacting the startups that you work with? Are you seeing technologies being impacted by new customer demands?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question that I think is still an open one for myself and I think more broadly for the industry. And what I mean by that, Erin, is we have a situation today where I think by and large the average electricity customer still has the same rough level of engagement with their energy providers and with the utility ecosystem that they've had since time immemorial. So you pay your bill once a month, you don't think about energy a lot. But what's happening is we're starting to move up the curve from innovators to the early adopter customer segment for a lot of these technology companies that are trying to drive new products and services into the industry. And I think we're starting to see more of a tipping point where the average electricity consumer is waking up to different options they have, both in how they think about buying their energy, but more importantly, how they think about managing energy. And from a customer point of view, I don't think it's really about the electricity, the energy itself that's important. It's what is the service outcome that I can get from interacting with a new provider or a new startup technology company that's offering a product. Reliability is a big, I think, focus point in people's minds, certainly in the Southeast, in Texas and California, where we have many more natural disasters these days. But moving beyond that, people will often cite the example of customers that are green-minded, they want to do right for the environment. But more than that, I think customers are actually more interested in how can I engage with the energy system on a local level? How can I buy energy from people that might be producing it locally, rather than just thinking of this kind of monolithic utility industry as a single provider with energy going one way. So I think whether it's about choice, local choice, whether it's about reliability, the important thing is what service outcome can customers find from interacting with new energy providers and technology companies.
And so you mentioned you're going to be on a panel discussing blockchain. Do you see the blockchain momentum continuing into 2019? And what are some of the use cases that you would imagine coming out of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for Centrica's part, certainly we will continue to engage across a number of fronts. I mentioned our investment in LO3 Energy. We've invested in other companies as well that are working with blockchain technologies. We're also a member of Energy Web Foundation, which is a public consortium of utilities, predominantly in Europe, but some in North America as well. So those initiatives and projects, which are really at proof of concept stage, will continue, at least through 2019. So from that point of view, I do see the momentum continuing. I think there has been a lot of cynicism and bearishness around the blockchain ecosystem in general as of late, given all the volatility and noise in the crypto markets. But frankly, that has not affected us, certainly in our work, and I'm not sure that's affected the broader energy industry for those people engaging with blockchain startups either. And so the short answer is yes, we'll absolutely continue to see momentum, particularly in really having the rubber meet the road in 2019 and start taking these proof of concepts to market and really field testing them. As far as the killer use cases, that's also very much an open question. This is still a very nascent space, but I think the two obvious ones where I'm seeing the most investment and attention from the industry and from venture capital investors as well is around certainly proof of origin, so things like renewable energy credits and managing those registries today across different markets, and then continuing development and interest in peer-to-peer or local energy markets, but specifically within that, driving demand response applications out of varied different endpoint devices. So rather than thinking of demand response at an aggregator level, being able to actually use the technology to aggregate really small loads into more effective, small, flexible loads at the grid edge, for example. Or I've even heard of applications around EV drivers, and this is more prevalent in Europe right now, but EV drivers being able to choose which energy provider they want to power up from when they plug in their vehicle. So applications like that, I think, are very much at the forefront and being worked on right now.
It's really interesting. Do you think Europe is further ahead than the US is?
Yeah, generally speaking, yes. I'm not sure if the level of investment dollars is higher in Europe, but certainly within the energy industry, there are far more proofs of concept, and I think more engagement from a variety of different energy companies, both distribution utilities, energy suppliers, certainly in the UK, in Germany, France, the Netherlands as well. There's just such a plethora of opportunity there for blockchain startups. In the US, it's a little bit more delayed, I think. And so there's still quite a large interest, and obviously the opportunity from an energy market point of view is just as large, if not larger here. But I think that the community from the industry side has been slower to engage in general.
And finally, so what is the latest technology or service that got you really excited about a new product or service you were able to invest in that got you really excited?
Well, actually, probably the most exciting one right now, it's hard to choose. I probably shouldn't speak about portfolio companies in a rank order way, but I'll say that actually the one that I'm most excited about right now is our investment in a company called Hello Alfred, which actually has nothing to do with energy. And that's important for us too, particularly at Centrica, because we're not only an energy company, but very much a home services company. And so Hello Alfred's really starting to reinvent the way we think about in-home commerce, but delivering customized hospitality for busy urbanites and helping people take care of their daily chores and shopping and really having that done automatically for them so that when they get home, there are all the groceries they like in the fridge, dry cleaning's hanging up, packages have been picked up. And so it's a really interesting startup that's doing some great work in driving hospitality and peace of mind for consumers. And we think certainly that's a really important category on the consumer side at Centrica in terms of how we think about services in the future and how we think about engaging customers in the future, especially millennials.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, and we're looking forward to your panel this afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks.